The galaxy had never been this quiet. Stars blinked coldly in the void, and massive fleets of alien warships drifted silently, their engines humming like distant thunder. For centuries, the empires of the galaxy had fought, conquering planets and devouring civilizations. They believed themselves unstoppable, masters of war. But tonight, something was coming that no one could have imagined. On the barren planet of Carthos 7, far from the eyes of spies and scouts, a lone human walked across a cracked, gray landscape. His armor was simple, worn from countless battles, but his eyes burned with focus. In his hands, he carried a weapon that legends whispered about in fearful tones, the Human Railgun. It was a weapon so powerful, so precise, that it could destroy entire fleets with a single shot. Most believed it was a myth. Most were about to find out they were wrong. From orbit, alien scouts watched Carthos 7. "It is just a human," one hissed in alarm, his voice trembling. "How much damage could a single human do?" His companion shook its head. "We underestimate them at our peril. This is no ordinary human." The human stepped into a huge chamber carved into the mountain. The railgun sat there like a beast, its metal gleaming under dim lights. Sparks of energy danced across its frame, humming with a power that made the floor tremble. The human placed his hands on the controls, feeling the pulse of energy flowing through the machine. A single thought raced through his mind: this weapon is the key. The galaxy will remember humans tonight. On distant planets, alien leaders prepared their fleets. Massive warships bristled with cannons and missiles, ready to strike. Entire civilizations had gathered in secret, hoping to crush what they still considered a minor human rebellion. None knew the truth: humans were not weak. Humans were clever, and sometimes, cleverness could be deadlier than fleets of warships. The human's fingers danced across the controls. The railgun powered up, and the air in the chamber thickened with energy. A faint glow illuminated his determined face. Outside, alien scouts gasped as the first signs appeared, waves of energy shooting across the sky like lightning. "It is real," one whispered. "The weapon is real." He aimed at the nearest enemy flagship. It floated arrogantly in space, unaware of the doom approaching. The human pulled the trigger. Time seemed to slow. A bolt of pure energy tore through the void. In seconds, the alien flagship was gone, vaporized into a cloud of molten metal and fire. Silence followed. No alarms, no screams, only the emptiness of space and the trembling of those who watched. The human did not celebrate. There was no time for joy. More ships appeared on the horizon, fleets moving faster than anyone expected. He adjusted his aim and fired again, destroying another enemy ship before it could react. The alien commanders stared at their holoscreens, disbelief painted across their faces. "It cannot be destroyed so easily," one hissed. But deep inside, fear was growing. The human's mind raced. Each shot of the railgun required precision, timing, and strategy. One mistake could cost him everything. Yet he felt alive in a way he never had before. Humans had been underestimated for centuries, treated as weak and insignificant. Tonight, he would show the galaxy that one human could stand against empires. One human could change history. On a distant observation deck, alien spies whispered frantically. "If this human is destroyed, the weapon will vanish with him," one said. But if he survives, the thought was too terrifying to finish. The railgun had rewritten the rules of war. The galaxy had never seen power like this before, and none could predict what would happen next. The human looked up at the stars. His pulse raced, but his mind was calm. This was only the beginning. Empires would send everything they had, but he was ready. He was the human who held the impossible weapon. He was the spark that would ignite a revolution across the galaxy. The camera of fate seemed to pause for a moment as the human prepared his next shot. A colossal fleet loomed in the distance. Every alien ship bristled with deadly weapons, every general confident in their superiority. But none understood one simple truth: humans do not fight like others. Humans fight with courage, intelligence, and hope. And tonight, the galaxy would learn that lesson the hardest way possible. The human fired again. The stars shook. Silence fell. And in that silence, the legend of the human railgun began. The galaxy could not stop talking about what had just happened on Carthos 7. Across countless star systems, news feeds buzzed with disbelief. Ships had been destroyed in an instant. Entire fleets had vanished. And the one responsible, a single human. No one knew his name. Some called him the ghost of Carthos, others the weapon of humanity. Every empire sent spies, scouts, and assassins to find him. Every fleet prepared to crush him. But the human did not hide. He moved like a shadow across the stars, always one step ahead. On a distant moon, in a hidden human colony, people watched the destruction live. They cheered quietly. For centuries, humans had been small, weak, overlooked. Now, one of them held the galaxy's most feared weapon, and hope had returned. Children stared wide-eyed at the screens, imagining themselves someday standing as heroes. Back on his ship, the human rested only briefly. He studied the railgun, making adjustments. Its energy core pulsed like a living heart. Each shot required careful timing. If he miscalculated, even by a fraction, the railgun could destroy the ship itself. But he had trained for years, built his mind and body for this moment. Humans were clever, yes, but they were also patient. Far away, alien leaders argued. "It is impossible," one general snapped. "One human against our fleets. One human cannot survive." Another replied, "Do you see the reports? He is not just surviving. He is destroying our ships before we can react. We must act together, or the human will end us all." Meanwhile, the human remembered his journey. He had been a simple engineer once, working in the human colonies. He had seen humans struggle, fighting against impossible odds. Then came the discovery, a piece of alien technology buried under centuries of dust, combined with human ingenuity, forming the railgun. It was a weapon made not from arrogance, but from necessity. The human's calm determination was unmatched. As enemy scouts approached, he analyzed their movement patterns, predicting their attacks before they even began. One by one, he disabled the incoming ships. His railgun was more than a weapon, it was a message: humans would no longer be underestimated. But as the legend grew, so did the dangers. A mysterious alien admiral, known only as Zalthor, appeared from the edge of the galaxy. He commanded fleets larger than entire human star systems and wielded weapons the human had never seen. Zalthor had studied humans for decades, mocking them as insignificant. Yet even he paused when he saw the destruction caused by one lone figure. The human knew Zalthor would not wait. He would strike with everything he had. He prepared for the incoming battle, scanning the horizon. His strategy relied not just on power, but on cunning. The railgun's energy could pierce any armor, but the human himself could not. He would have to think faster than the enemy, act before they could react. Across the galaxy, alien generals whispered about the human's tactics. "He is not like any species we have seen," one said. "He fights with intelligence, courage, and something different. Something we cannot predict." They feared the unknown, the human mind, the human spirit, the human way of fighting. And then it happened. Zalthor's fleet appeared, thousands of ships glinting like a storm in space. They advanced relentlessly, confident that even the railgun could not stop them all. The human's pulse quickened. He knew this was no ordinary battle. This was a test of everything humans had ever believed about themselves. He fired the railgun again. One flagship vanished instantly. Another exploded into a cloud of fire. Yet, the enemy pressed forward, faster and stronger than before. The human's heart pounded, but fear did not enter his mind. Humans did not fight because they were fearless. They fought because they had hope. And hope was stronger than any weapon. The legend of the human spread faster than any fleet. Alien scouts whispered his name in fear, humans cheered his victories in secret, and Zalthor clenched his fists in frustration. The battle had only begun, but already, the galaxy had seen that one human could challenge the mightiest empires. As the human prepared for the next wave of attacks, a shadow moved across the stars. A signal, ancient and strange, pulsed from a distant system. Something had awakened. Something older than any empire, more powerful than any fleet. The human's eyes narrowed. He had destroyed many, but now, he faced something different. Something unknown. The camera zoomed out from his ship, across the battlefield, and into the darkness of space. The galaxy held its breath. The human had become more than a soldier. He was a symbol, a spark of hope, and a force the universe would never forget. The void of space trembled. Hundreds of alien ships moved like a living storm, their lights flashing like stars torn from the sky. At the center, a single human ship hovered, small but unyielding. Its silhouette cut against the darkness like a knife, and inside, the human prepared for the battle that could decide the fate of the galaxy. Zalthor's fleet had arrived. Thousands of ships bristled with deadly weapons, shields glowing like molten metal, engines roaring as if the galaxy itself feared their approach. The human scanned the battlefield, noting every formation, every strategy. He did not flinch. One human against thousands, yet he did not hesitate. Humans had always survived against impossible odds, and tonight, the railgun would prove it. The first wave of enemy ships surged forward, missiles streaking across space like fireflies. The human pulled the trigger. A bolt of pure energy tore through the darkness, hitting a massive flagship dead center. It exploded in a dazzling inferno, sending fragments flying in every direction. The smaller ships faltered, confused by the sheer power of a single human. Yet the battle was far from over. Zalthor himself stepped forward, commanding his personal flagship, a vessel larger than most entire star systems. Its shields shimmered with alien technology, impervious to ordinary weapons. The human's pulse quickened. He had faced many fleets, but this was a different level. He adjusted the railgun's energy output, focusing on precision rather than brute force. A single shot could pierce the flagship's outer defenses, but the inner core required something more. The human fired again. The bolt struck the shield, creating a massive explosion of energy that rocked both ships. Sparks danced across the human's console. He had done it. But Zalthor's ship remained intact. Alien drones swarmed the human's position, attempting to flank him. He twisted his ship, weaving through fire, evading attacks that would have destroyed any ordinary pilot. Each maneuver was a masterpiece of calculation, patience, and instinct. Humans were not the strongest species, but they were clever. That cleverness had saved worlds before, and tonight, it could save the galaxy. Meanwhile, across the void, humans in hidden colonies watched in awe. Every shot, every movement, every explosion was a story of defiance. Children held their breath, imagining themselves in his place. Adults whispered about hope, courage, and the power of a single human mind. Across the galaxy, whispers turned into legends. Back in the cockpit, the human studied the battlefield. He noticed a pattern: Zalthor's fleet moved too predictably, confident in their strength. Humans thrived on unpredictability. He made a daring decision. He would split his attack, drawing part of the fleet into a trap while targeting the flagship. The first trap worked perfectly. A cluster of alien ships fell into the humans' ambush, destroyed before they could react. Energy bolts screamed through space, hitting every vessel with deadly precision. Zalthor's shock was evident across his holographic display. No one had ever fought like this. No one had ever faced such intelligence combined with courage. The flagship moved closer, launching a massive plasma cannon that could obliterate planets. The human's ship dodged barely in time. He fired again, hitting the ship's engines. A blinding explosion rocked the enemy vessel, slowing it down. For the first time, Zalthor's confidence faltered. Then came the twist. From the edge of the system, a massive shadow emerged. It was the source of the mysterious signal, a colossal alien entity, its shape impossible to comprehend, more ancient than any empire. Its presence filled the void, and even the alien fleet hesitated. Zalthor's eyes widened. This was not part of his plan. The human's pulse raced. He had faced fleets, he had faced power, but now something unknown approached. He gripped the railgun controls tighter. He did not know if this new enemy could be destroyed with a single shot, but humans had a secret weapon stronger than any alien technology: courage and ingenuity. The camera zoomed out across the battlefield. Explosions lit up the void, energy bolts danced across ships, and in the center, a lone human stood, ready to challenge impossible odds. His legend was growing, but the galaxy was about to learn that the fight was far from over. The void of space was alive with fear. Across the galaxy, every empire watched through holofeeds and deep space sensors. Entire fleets had vanished, and the one responsible was a single human. His name remained unknown, yet his legend spread faster than any fleet could travel. The colossal alien entity hovered near the battlefield. Its presence was immense, more powerful than any ship or weapon ever built. Stars seemed to dim as it moved. Zalthor's flagship trembled, its shields flickering. Even the most confident alien generals whispered nervously, knowing that for the first time, victory was no longer certain. The human studied the entity carefully. It moved with intelligence, yet there was something strange, a pattern, almost like a pulse. Humans were masters of observation, of finding order in chaos. He adjusted the railgun's charge, aiming not at its body but at its energy core. One well-placed shot might slow it down, even if it could not destroy it completely. The alien fleets hesitated, unsure whether to attack or retreat. Some considered surrender, fearful that any misstep could lead to total annihilation. Others wanted revenge, anger burning in their hearts. Across star systems, humans in hidden colonies watched the battle, their hope rising with every daring shot the human fired. For the first time in centuries, humans were no longer powerless. Zalthor roared through his hollow communication system, his voice echoing across the void. This human is nothing. Destroy him. Show the galaxy our true power. But even he could not hide the tremor in his tone. The alien entity loomed behind him, and he knew that failure now could mean the end of everything he ruled. The human fired again. A beam of pure energy tore through the darkness, striking the alien entity's core. Sparks erupted like miniature suns, and the massive shadow shivered. It let out a strange cry, a sound that resonated across space and even reached distant planets. The human did not hesitate. He fired again, hitting weak points in Zalthor's fleet, destroying flagship after flagship with surgical precision. The galaxy was in shock. Reports flooded every empire, fleets destroyed by one human, an ancient entity wounded by one shot, entire planets trembling at the power of a single human mind. No one could comprehend it. Children whispered about him as a hero, spies muttered warnings, and generals realized that humans were far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. But the battle was far from over. The ancient entity began to adapt. Its massive shadow stretched across the battlefield, sending waves of energy that disabled smaller ships instantly. Zalthor's fleet struggled to respond. Even his elite soldiers could not move fast enough to avoid the force. Panic spread like wildfire. The human's pulse raced, but his mind remained calm. He had fought impossible odds before, and he would fight them again. Humans did not surrender. Humans did not back down. He calculated the next strike, using the railgun to create chain reactions, destroying small ships to create debris traps, forcing the entity to adjust its massive movements. Cleverness, strategy, and courage, this was humanity's greatest weapon. Across the galaxy, civilians watched the live feeds, holding their breath. Some could not believe what they saw. Entire fleets shattered. An ancient power trembled under the attack of one human. Hope spread like fire. For the first time, humans were no longer the underdogs, they were a force to be reckoned with. Zalthor's anger turned to fear. Impossible, he muttered. No one can fight like this, no one. He realized that even if the human fell, the courage of humanity would survive. The galaxy had changed forever. The human fired the railgun one last time at the approaching entity. A blinding explosion lit the void. Space shook. The entity recoiled, and Zalthor's flagship staggered. Silence fell. Even in chaos, the galaxy paused. For a brief moment, all eyes turned to the human. He stood alone, surrounded by smoke, energy, and the echoes of devastation. Then the human looked toward the horizon. A new signal pulsed in the distance, stronger and stranger than anything before. It was a warning, a promise that the battles were not over. Something even greater than the ancient entity was awakening, watching the human, learning from him, and preparing for its moment. The galaxy remained in shock, but one thing was clear: humans had arrived. Not just as survivors, not just as clever engineers, but as legends. And the human railgun, the impossible weapon, had become the spark that would ignite the future. The void of space was alive with tension. The mysterious signal had grown into a massive presence, an unknown force larger than any fleet, more powerful than any weapon. Zalthor's fleet, once confident and unstoppable, now trembled under the shadow of this ancient entity. And at the center of it all, the human stood alone, his ship small but unyielding, his railgun charged to maximum. The alien entity moved closer, its form impossible to comprehend. Dark energy rippled around it, distorting stars and space itself. Entire fleets hesitated, unsure how to face it. Zalthor barked orders, but his voice was hollow. Even the mightiest generals could not predict the human's next move, and now the unknown force approached, testing them all. The human's eyes narrowed. He understood one thing clearly: this was no ordinary battle. It was the ultimate test, not just of strength, but of ingenuity, courage, and the human spirit. He had survived impossible odds before. He had destroyed massive fleets and wounded ancient power. Now, he would do what humans always did: adapt, improvise, and fight. The railgun hummed, its energy core glowing like a miniature sun. He aimed carefully at the entity's central pulse, the place where all its energy flowed. One shot could be enough to slow it, maybe even destroy it, but only if he timed it perfectly. Zalthor's fleet surged forward, trying to shield the entity, but the human had planned for this. Using the railgun, he targeted clusters of ships, causing chain reactions. Explosions erupted across the battlefield, debris flying in every direction. Alien soldiers panicked as entire formations shattered before their eyes. The entity responded, sending waves of energy that tore through the void. The human's ship rocked violently, systems warning of critical damage. Yet he remained calm. He adjusted the railgun, timing his next shot with precision. Humans thrived in impossible situations, and this was the pinnacle of such a challenge. He fired. The beam of energy tore through the darkness, striking the entity's core. A blinding explosion filled space, shaking stars for light years. The entity shrieked, a sound that rattled even the alien fleets, and staggered back. Zalthor's flagship faltered, its shields failing. The tide had shifted. The human did not stop. He fired again, targeting weak points in the remaining enemy ships. Each shot was precise, destroying massive vessels with surgical accuracy. The alien fleets fell into chaos. Zalthor realized his power had been shattered, and the once confident empire crumbled before his eyes. Amid the destruction, the human remained focused. He knew that victory required more than force, it required courage and cleverness. Using the railgun, he created a series of calculated explosions, forcing the entity to retreat, weakening it further. The unknown force, vast and ancient, recoiled, unable to withstand the ingenuity of a single human mind. Finally, the battlefield grew quiet. Alien fleets were in ruins, the entity weakened, and Zalthor's power broken. Across the galaxy, civilizations paused, watching the impossible unfold. A single human had changed everything. He had proven that humans were not weak, not insignificant. They were a force of courage, intelligence, and relentless determination. The human looked out at the remnants of the battlefield. Stars shimmered, smoke and debris drifting across the void. He had survived. He had triumphed. The galaxy would remember this day, not just for the destruction he caused, but for the hope he inspired. Humans had arrived as legends, as equals among the stars, and as the spark that could ignite a new era. In hidden colonies, children cheered. Scientists and engineers studied his tactics. Leaders whispered his name in fear and awe. Even Zalthor, defeated but alive, understood that the galaxy had changed forever. One human had shown what countless empires could not, that determination, courage, and intelligence could overcome even the mightiest power. But the human did not linger. He knew that the galaxy was vast, and challenges would always come. For now, he rested, his railgun quiet, the stars calm, but the legend of the human railgun had been written into history. The camera zoomed out across the galaxy. The debris of fleets floated silently, the stars glimmered, and a single human ship moved onward, small but unyielding. Humanity had triumphed, not through sheer numbers, but through spirit, ingenuity, and the courage to stand against impossible odds.